Boom.
Boom.
Love it.
Let's do it. Let's drill it.
Boom. And that's explosions.
Yeah. Explosions.
We still haven't got to the level of where we can pay for those fake explosions and smoke machines and all that good stuff. Not yet, but we'll get there.
Yeah. I do have a steam machine at my office because there's a steam room.
I just want to be lowered in by like cords and stuff. Is that too much?
Like in Spinal Tap with the Stonehenge comes down.
Disco ball, fog machine.
Yeah.
Patrick, have you seen This is Spinal Tap?
Yeah. It
a long time ago.
This one goes up to
right. And I love the Stonehenge, the little tiny comes down on the stage. So,
this episode's going to go up to 11. Craig, who do we have here today with us?
Well, my man, we have Patrick Albrecht, and he is with Associated Insurance Administrators. We're going to be talking a little bit about commercial today.
Ooh, so I love it.
Which we don't touch on a lot, but I'm very excited. Not enough, because it's so fascinating. It's so fascinating that in our world, we just avoid it. But I think that there's a lot of opportunity for a lot of agents. And if you've talked with, or if you've listened to the David Carruthers episode, or even to his podcast, what is Power Producers podcast, which is phenomenal.
Yes.
You need to get yourself on that one, Patrick, but we got you first. So
100%.
He is a podcast virgin, and this is his first podcast. He doesn't look as nervous as he did at the beginning. So this is great. And he's not nervous. I'm just kidding.
Craig, what about a round of Speedbreakers?
Can you set the clock, please? We have 11 seconds on the clock, and here we go. Try to get through all of it in 11 seconds. Have you ever had a mullet?
No.
First crush?
Don't say mom.
No.
That's what you would say, Mr. Jason.
No, yeah, you've already tripped me up on that.
That's all right. We'll pass. Most embarrassing thing your mom.
Who was the girl in E.T.?
Oh.
E.T. with a wig on?
She was cute.
What about when E.T. had the wig on?
Yeah.
It wasn't. I don't think it was.
Screwed up to be pretty cute. So.
Okay. Most embarrassing thing your mom ever caught you doing?
I wish everybody.
This is one of these things where I think
that was a good one.
If you actually answer it, then you're lying.
Yeah, right.
How about the fastest speed ever driven?
Fastest speed ever driven, 145.
Ooh, that is a respectable speed. Favorite cereal?
Fruit Loops.
Fruit Loops, good one.
Nice.
How many kids?
3.
Have you made cry? Please wait for the question.
3. At least 3. I know that for sure.
Sure. Count Chocula or Count Dracula?
Chocula for sure.
Yeah. Fastest mile?
7:25.
That's pretty good.
Nice.
Respectable. Favorite flavor?
Chocolate.
I love that question, and nobody ever says favorite flavor what? Like it's just favorite flavor. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
You're lucky. The first time that somebody says cats, we're just going to end the interview.
Yeah.
Well, somebody did that. One person said cats.
Was it a dudette?
Nope.
What? Tacos or burritos?
Taco.
Yep, correct. Favorite video game? I don't know how this one got in there, but
Galaga.
I love it.
Good
Galaga.
Galaga.
I
loved it.
That's why that question's in there.
Yeah,
is because that answer right there.
You know when you'd let them steal your ship, they take it up to the top, and then you get to have the double whammy. That was the best.
Yes.
Trump or Biden?
Trump.
Oh, wow. It just goes out and says
Nice.
it. I love it. That, my
Love
friend,
it.
is Speedbreakers, and you just came in under 11 seconds.
That
So
was not 11
congratulations.
seconds.
But you
Dude,
took
I
it to
love
11.
Galaga. I can like that sound is like imprinted in my brain when they start dropping the stuff.
I used to play it on the sit-down one at the ice cream parlor in town. The sit-down.
It was always in the at like the wherever you had to wait for something.
Yeah.
You know,
like
going out to dinner or something like that. It was right there, and it was fun to play. You never tried to beat it because it got crazy. There's no chance you're ever going to beat that or Pac-Man.
Could you beat? I'd get pretty far in Ms. Pac-Man. Regular Pac-Man.
I bet you
tougher.
would.
Well, you memorize.
You stop, Mr. Jason.
I'm feeling sassy. Let's jump in. Let's die.
You are sassy,
Patrick. So. The last question, and I forgot to ask you this, but what was the first concert you ever went to? And take us all the way back to the beginning, as far back as you can ever remember.
First concert, Phil Collins.
Oh, wow.
Back in the day.
Love it.
1990, I think.
Wow. So
Birmingham.
I'm feeling it.
Did he play I Can Feel It Calling in the Air Tonight?
Yeah, all the good ones.
Were you at the one where it was wasn't it that he sang that song was to some murderer and then they went and got him or something? I don't know. Some weird story about that.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stories behind that.
Yeah. Well,
take us back.
Very memorable. And I was 18, I think 18. Yeah, 18.
In 1990?
Went with a couple friends, and there were a couple older women next to us who were probably 30. So they offered to buy us beer, and it was a lot.
You got wasted, didn't you?
Yeah.
Nice. That is fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we're about the same age because I was 18, and I think it was 1891. So yeah.
Well, I'm already feeling it. So let's go back to Phil Collins and what got you from Filthy Phil all the way into today, rocking in the insurance business for over 20 years.
Yeah. Fill it up with a bunch of information.
Okay, so one of my favorite movies growing up was Top Gun. Wanted to be
yes.
With the need.
Went to the Air Force Academy, but
wow.
didn't get to fly coming out of there. A lot of different reasons. Long story. Anyway,
because you drank at the Phil Collins concert.
Do what?
You got in trouble
from drinking at the Phil Collins concert.
That's it. But was an engineer in the Air Force for 5 years. Got out, got my MBA while I was in the Air Force, and wasn't sure what I wanted to do when I came out. But my dad was in the insurance business, so I said, "Well, let's get a try." And 21 years later, here I am.
Well, take us through that. So
you got to fill in a little bit of all the details.
Yeah, I didn't want to waste your time.
Well, that's what we're here for.
We're getting to know each other.
So let's see. Started out working for my dad. Did that for about 6 years, and being the entrepreneur he is, sold the business, and went to work for the company that he sold it to, out of Atlanta, which was a fairly large size wholesaler. Managed a general agency and did a lot of work on the marketing and sales side for them. About the time they were going to get me to move to their home office and take over their marketing department, I got the opportunity to come work here at AIA, and that was about 7 years ago. And came into AIA as a business development, marketing, sales, just kind of working that side of the business. They were looking to expand into other lines besides workers' comp, which is kind of the bread and butter of what we do here. And so I came in and helped them with that. We acquired a small excess and surplus lines wholesale operation down the road, and then grew it and sold it. And now we're gone through a recent reorganization, refocus on our work comp program, looking for opportunities to grow that. And they also wanted to change up the leadership in the company, and the president role had always been with one of the owners who's not here in the day-to-day operations. So they moved the president role into the company, and I took that position about 4 months ago.
Oh,
love it.
Well, welcome, Mr. President.
Yeah.
Yes. I want to know, when you first started, what was the marketing and sales department? What did that look like at that point?
Here, or when I first started in the insurance business?
When you first started in the insurance business, and I want to know that whole evolution.
So for us, and I've always worked in the wholesale business, so I've been in that. Our customers are the retail insurance agents. We represent multiple insurance company markets, and our marketing is geared around getting insurance agents to want to do business with us versus the competitors that are out there for mostly commercial lines. We've done some personal lines over the years, but marketing was at that time was really door to door. I mean, we had multiple marketing representatives, and I spent a lot of time doing that myself when I first came into the business. Just going out and getting in front of our customers and trying to sell what we did at the wholesale operation there. So a lot of knocking on doors, and back then it was a lot of cold calls. So it wasn't like we have it today, where everything was laid out, we're organized, and we figure out where we're going to go, what we're going to say before we even walk in the door. Back then it was go to a small town, and if there were 3 insurance agents, you were knocking on doors and looking at your list and asking to speak to that guy. And one of my favorite, I mean, not a great story, but one of my favorite stories was walking into this insurance agent. I pulled my list out and I said, "Can I speak to so-and-so principal?" And they're like, "Yeah, he passed away last year." So it was one of those interesting calls where you walk in and have to kind of backtrack and think on your feet as quickly as you can while you're working through that, and still get them to say, "Oh, well, do business with us."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
anyway,
I would have said, "So do you have a Ouija board?"
Yeah, exactly. So it was a lot of handwritten notes and coming back and distributing those out to the underwriters and letting everyone know where the opportunities were and trying to market from that standpoint. But it was very relationship based, and there's that's still a big part of where we are today. That's one thing that hasn't changed is the relationship aspects of marketing and getting to know your customer and understanding what their needs are, and face-to-face makes such a big difference.
Yeah.
We've noticed that over the last year with everything that's been going on with COVID. So
I don't know if you may have done this, but back in the olden days, before there were CRMs and lead management systems and all this stuff, we used to, so I learned, I did sales at a car dealership for a while, and that was just more, walk on traffic. But I went to Merrill Lynch, and when I was there, it was a ton of prospecting. And one of it was pre-CRM. I mean, there were computers, but the internet was pretty new, and there wasn't social media or anything. But what we did was we had folders. So you had like paper folders, and they were numbered 1 through 31. And for the day of the month. And you would just, if you called somebody, you had your slip, because they'd hand you leads. Like they'd take the printout from the dot matrix, and they'd cut all these leads and they'd give them to you. You'd get whatever a day. And you call them, and whatever the result was, okay, I'll follow up in 2 weeks. Then you'd put it in the folder that was, the 14th, if it was the first. And that was our CRM. And
I think I already fell asleep.
I know. Jason knows nothing of those days. So.
Yeah, ours was a map, and you pick out the territory that you're going to go visit.
Oh, wow.
In that territory, and then go from there.
Yeah. No, I actually was around during those days.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in my early 20s, I got a job at AAA. You know AAA Insurance, Craig?
I've heard of them, yes.
Yeah, that's in California. Anyways, got a job there. They trained me. They actually paid really well. I couldn't pass I was probably the wrong candidate for the job, first off. And I was, more focused on my music career, let's say. And I didn't pass the test, but I was working there and selling under their umbrella. And they did. They had the folders. I didn't do well.
No.
Oh, yeah. No, I was fired.
Did you use the folders?
No, I didn't do anything. I just showed up, hungover, and
right, just the party days.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
those
true.
days.
Those were the days. The insurance association meetings, the conventions, the conferences. It was one big
Yeah.
party.
Yeah.
Of course, a lot of networking got done there too. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing with events now. There's a good amount of value that you can grab, but there's so much value in talking to the other agents and learning best strategies and that kind of thing. Yeah. So
yeah,
hopefully that'll happen again someday.
well, and we're starting to get back into
Yeah.
that. We've been able to visit a few agents in this area in the last month to 2 months.
Huh.
Starting to see that open back up. But we learned a lot over the last year, and we learned a lot about how we can get more value out of that face-to-face meeting by doing some pre-work on the lead generation side of it and qualifying those leads, and then going through that process of making those introductions and conversations and determine where that value is, where that opportunity is, and then engaging with the face-to-face. Nowadays that's so expensive. And back when we were talking about the early days, it wasn't that expensive to send somebody out and
Right.
do those knocking on doors and calling on people. And you might visit with somebody and not get anything out of it, but no big deal. But now it costs us $200-300 just to have somebody walk through the door of an insurance agency. And so to try to manage that, we've spent a lot more time over the last 4 or 5 years, really trying to develop out our systems and platforms to give us that advantage on the front end.
Well, everything is so analytically driven now, and I think it was just so challenging to really do that back in the olden days.
Data's king now, so
yeah,
you can figure out how to get it and then and do something with it. I mean, we have so much data now; it's getting to the point where how do we filter through it as efficiently to find the real opportunities.
Yeah. You can get in that analysis paralysis if you take all of it and try to use it. It's like, because it's so awesome, right? I have all this stuff. But
spend all day looking at data versus picking up the phone and calling the customer and building that relationship.
Yeah, we do a ton of calls. We have a telemarketing company off to the side, and so we just, there's so much data that you can look at, but we like to focus, okay, how many dials, how many contacts, and just keep it simple. And really it's the same kind of pipeline that you would have done back then. Yeah, just easier to track it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So AIA is the wholesaler, right?
Right.
And I'm not as familiar with wholesalers in our business, only because from the retail side, we are captive. So not really anybody comes and talks to us. I know when I was at Merrill Lynch, the wholesalers from the mutual funds and all that would come in, constantly. And I'd love meeting with them because they would always come with a great idea. That's what that was their way in the day. Hey, you have a minute? I have a great idea about, prospecting. Yeah. So is it similar in how you guys are connecting with agents, where you come up with some great ideas to get your foot in the door?
Right. So what we try to put ourselves out there as being unique, in that we have a work comp program that we manage everything. Now, we're like a small insurance company, I guess is the best way to put it. We do the underwriting, we handle the claims in house, we have all the invoicing, we direct bill insured. It's like if you were dealing directly with an insurance company, but it's a small operation. So you get to know the underwriters, you get to know the adjusters, the claims handlers, you get to know the people in accounting by first name. So that gives us an advantage when we're walking in the door, especially with an agency that's used to dealing with these large corporate insurance companies, where every time you call, you get somebody different on the phone, or it's a online rating system now, where you're just going and plugging information in and getting a quote back. We deal with a lot more complex types of risks, so we tend to have a lot more conversations about the risk, understand the risk, know what's going on, and we expect the agent to do the same. So a lot of our, we look at an agency to determine, are they the experts in this particular industry or niche? And if they are, we see that as an opportunity for us, because we're experts in certain niche areas for workers' compensation. So we are able to go into, let's say, and it's a retail agency that focuses on healthcare or even home healthcare, then we say, okay, yeah, these guys may be a good opportunity for us to go and have a conversation with, because our product with our workers' compensation program, we can offer something to them that there's not a lot of companies out there that really go after that type of business, especially from a monoline work comp standpoint. So, yeah, I think that's you talk about adding that value to the agency, getting that agency something that they can say, oh wow, okay, that's a great strategy, or that's a good opportunity for us. And that's where we try to focus in to say, hey, we can add that value to what you're giving to your customer, so that when you go and present that quote or present that account, trying to write that account, you've got the backing of someone like AIA that can provide you with additional information that you need outside of just pricing in order to sell the quote. Commercial lines, you want to be in the ballpark when it comes to pricing, but that's not always what sells the account. And for us, once we write it, a lot of times we keep business on the books for years, simply because our claim services are so hands-on. And we in turn help the insured lower their premiums over time, because we give them tools and processes and ways to improve their loss ratio by handling their claims better over the years. So those are some of the things that we really try to focus on going into an agency.
That's awesome. Workers' comp is real interesting, because we don't in the captive world do a ton of workers' comp.
Yeah.
But I find it fascinating, and even Carruthers, when we were talking with him, it's a great, I think, foot in the door to then, branch out. And if you focus on your niche, maybe you deal with, I don't know, whatever, ice cream shops. And then your niche is ice cream shops, but you can get your foot in the door by having a great workers' comp product, because everybody needs to have it.
Right. If you can find a specific line of business, I mean, whether it's cyber or whether it's something unique from a coverage standpoint, you can walk into that. You get an introduction to that customer by saying, "Hey, we're the experts in this field. We can offer you something that you may not be able to get through a generalist type agency." So we see a lot of agents have the greatest success are the ones that are the experts in a particular industry, and whether that's in a particular coverage or just across the board within that industry, they provide the value to the customer, to the insured, as we're just trying to provide the value to the retail agent.
What are some of the niches that you guys cover that you see agents really having a lot of success with? Some of your
I mentioned healthcare because that's a big issue. That's an area that their coverage is becoming more and more difficult, just because of what we've gone through the past year. So I mentioned that, and do what?
You said who? It cut out right when you said.
Oh, I'm sorry, healthcare.
Oh, healthcare. Okay, right.
Yeah, I mentioned that earlier because that's one that we're seeing just a real. It's just a problematic area. Industry right now for insurance, and so if you can come in and provide a coverage or some expert advice, that's definitely an area that's growing.
Is that like individual doctors' offices, hospitals, or all of the above, the whole supply chain?
Across the board, we've seen a lot of opportunity with home health care. There's a lot of exposures in home health care that you don't get with a doctor's office, just because you've got people going into an unknown environment of a home where you can't control the exposures that are in that area. So that's something that we have a lot of underwriters that have have had the expertise of working in not only that career field, but working with a lot of insureds that specialize in that. So yeah, we've seen a lot of health growth in the healthcare market. Nonprofits and social services, that's another area that's really a unique kind of niche industry where it's really a growing area right now, especially on the social services side.
Interesting.
Municipalities. One thing about municipalities is the relationship is a huge deal on that end. So getting into the right person within a county, or the decision maker within the county or within the city, that makes the decisions on where that insurance is being placed is a huge part of running that municipality business. And then being able to answer questions, bring some legal advice. We see there's a lot of problems with police forces right now, especially with some of the violence that has happened over the last year. Finding that the ability to write liability on a police force. So, from a municipality standpoint, if you can be the expert. And another thing we've noticed too, especially with municipalities, is a lot of the agents that specialize in that are starting to age out. So you've got a older group of agencies, or retail agents, producers, they're starting to hit that retirement age, and you don't have a lot of young producers that are coming up behind them that have that expertise on being able to provide that advice from a municipality standpoint.
Yeah.
Or public sector.
Yeah. What other opportunity? Like, where do you see, like, if you were coming in as an agent, where do you see the biggest opportunities? Obviously, you just mentioned municipalities. That'd be a great niche to look into. But what advice would you give to somebody that that's looking for maybe like a niche or some sort of opportunity today?
Well, first off, what do you enjoy? And I mean, if you're trying to force yourself into a specific industry that you really don't care about, you're not ever going to be successful. So find some things you enjoy. So if it's be specialized forestry products. I mean, a lot of guys like to get out, get in the woods. Maybe they're hunters. Maybe they like to hunt. Maybe they like to be outdoors. Um, Forestry especially in this area in the southeast, is a pretty big industry. And if you can get to know the people that go out and do the logging or do the timber cruising, things like that, then there's a real opportunity right there in and of itself.
Love it. I didn't even think about that. I know nothing about forestry insurance. That is 100% true. That's why I was asking you, like, what it's interesting to what's great about what you know and what you deal with is there are going to be a lot of these areas that maybe somebody newer wouldn't look into right away, because of course you go into the insurance business, the first thing, oh, auto, home, you know what I mean? Like, that's everybody knows. Then you start going a little deeper and you start learning these special niche insurance, or, I don't know. And then you start seeing all that stuff. And then I think it becomes a lot clearer on what people can.
I'm not knocking. Personal lines is great. I mean, especially if you're sales oriented and you're a people person, you can do extremely well in personal lines. I've just never really gravitated towards that because of my engineering background, and I like to problem solve from a complexity standpoint. So commercial lines can just be, there's just so much more complexity in the coverage aspects of commercial lines. But that's really, like I was saying earlier, it depends on what you like to do personally. So if there's an area that you enjoy working, then dive into that. I mean, we see a lot of agencies that just specialize in. We've got one agency in Nashville that just specializes in recyclers and waste haulers and that sort of business. But that grew because that family that owns that retail agency, they used to have a recycling operation and and from that started the insurance agency to help write the insurance on that particular operation, and then grew from there to where they write that type of business nationwide. And they're able to do it because they understand the business, they know what goes into it, whether it's scrap metal or whether it's waste hauling or whatever that particular operation is. They understand the coverage that insured needs.
Yeah. You create a lot of value too when you're niched down like that, because this is all we do, right? So it buys a lot of goodwill with the, with the prospects out there, right? This is all we do, right?
Especially if you're new and you're just coming in to be an insurance agent. If you try to go out and be everything to everybody, you're never going to be. It's going to be extremely difficult to make your way with all the competition that's out there from an insurance agency standpoint. You've got to set yourself apart, and the best way to do that is to be the expert in a particular industry.
Yeah. And we see it all the time too, even in the captive world, where we can do home, auto, and life, and then we can do all the other stuff, but it's on kind of pieced together different platforms. It takes forever, and it gets away from our bread and butter, which is the home auto life. And I mean, that's what drives bonus. That's what drives our maximum revenue for our agency. So it doesn't make sense to go and do that. And you'll see it on Facebook or whatever. Hey, I have this thing, it looks real good. And it's like you get almost starry-eyed about this big premium and go down the rabbit hole, when you could have spent a lot of time just focusing on what you do, which is quoting lots of home and auto. It may not be the most glorious thing in the world, but it's what pays the bills. So you shouldn't detract from that.
And if there's ways to, get into certain industry associations where a lot of your potential clients might be, good way to get your name out there and get in network. And those associations are always looking for those experts. That provides value for the association.
Yeah.
I mean, they're looking to draw members as well as you're looking to find those clients. So find the associations that deal with those particular industries, and that's a great place to start.
Yeah. So Patrick, somebody new coming in, how could AIA be of service to them, and what would the steps be to find you and leverage the things that you have to offer?
So we're a regional wholesaler. So we focus on 4, 5, 6 states in the Southeast where we can actually write coverage in those states. And then we are able to write incidental exposures beyond that in a number of states surrounding that area. So what we try to do is we try to get in front of those particular retail agents through, as I mentioned earlier, associations is one way. We've redone our website and gotten that, done a lot of things to try to get it to pop on Google and a few other areas so that, somebody that just goes out and types in workers' compensation in Alabama, hopefully AIA is pop into the top so that we can, we can attract that kind of agency. And then once that happens, and once we get that lead, we try to make sure it's a fit. We don't do business with every retail agency out there because we would water ourselves down, and we're not going to provide value to every retail agency out there. So once we get the lead in the door, whether it's an inquiry or somebody calling or sending an email or sending an application, we get our marketing team on it right away, and so they reach out to that agency and have a conversation, find out about that agency, what their needs are, and then let them know what AIA brings to the table. Hey, we're the experts when it comes to workers' comp. If you're looking for this type of workers' comp insurance to be able to offer to your clients, then maybe there's an opportunity there for us to move forward. And we have a producer agreement that we go through and all that, but we don't really have we don't have a premium volume commitment or anything like that. We feel like that if there's that relationship opportunity to develop, the revenue and the premium will come over time. So we work through that with each agent almost on an individual basis. And that's kind of how we underwrite our accounts. We underwrite them on an individual basis. So if you send in an account, we're not going to decline it or accept it just right out of the gate based on a certain box, whether it fits the box or not. We're going to take the time to go through it, understand the account. We may even pick up the phone, call the agent, tell us a little bit more about what's going on here. Initial look at it, it says, I don't know. I don't think that's something we want to write, but maybe there's more to the story. And so we try to get that from the retail agent and give them the opportunity to sell us on it as well. Because ultimately we've got to sell the insurance company that we represent on it. So we've got to make sure we have all the facts and make sure we can get the best price back in the hands of the retail agent and get them the information that they need in order to sell the coverage.
What happened? You're muted.
Muted.
Thank you, Patrick. I just want to ask you one final question, and that would be any insurance agent coming into the industry or any agent that's been in the industry for a while that really wants to kick it into high gear. What would be the one piece of advice that you would give any insurance agent out there?
One piece of advice.
That's it. The major one, the top of the pyramid.
Get to know your customer beyond just the high level facts of an application. Dig in, get to know who they are, what drives them, what makes them tick, and then that'll make all the difference in the world when you turn around and try to sell your policies and your coverages back to them. You can't if you're gonna tailor insurance to a particular company or an individual, you got to know what they're about and what their needs are. And so the only way to do that is to get to know them. And used to be that meant go and sit down with them face to face, but there's a lot of other ways to do that now. So you can do that through like what we're doing today, through a virtual meeting. You can do that through social media. There's a lot of opportunities to get to know and understand who your customer is. But we talked about it from the beginning of when I got into the insurance business. That part is extremely important. There are a lot of tools to get to that relationship that have changed, but the actual relationship piece of it is still just so important.
Yep, love it. I think that is the competitive advantage at this time in the game. That's the lost art. Nobody's doing it anymore. So that's awesome advice, Patrick. Thank you so much. Yeah. If anybody wants to get a hold of you or anything, how do they do that?
And we're going to put that in the show notes.
Is AIAMGA.com. It's very easy, and it's got all of our contact information on there. You can find me on LinkedIn and those other social media sites. But best way to get in touch with us is just check the website out.
Well, and as you're listening to Patrick on this episode as it winds down, make sure to scroll to the bottom of your iTunes thing and give a review and say how awesome it was to hear from Patrick, and we'll be able to get more guests just like him on here. So thank you so much. It's been a ton of fun, and we wish you the best of luck.
Well,
keep crushing
it. It's been great. Yeah, y'all made this easy. I was really nervous about how this was going to go, but y'all made it fun. So thank you.
Well, cool.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well,
thank you, Patrick.
Number one insurance podcast in the world. So
there you go.
Oh, Craig. All right.
Great
meeting you, Patrick.
Have a good one. Thank you. See ya.